PK in the universe, and I am back again with another video. And today it is the 25th anniversary of the Sega Dreamcast. That's right, the Sega Dreamcast. This beauty right here, I bought this in 2012. This was the beginning of my retro gaming journey. I bought it at a flea market. It was 25 bucks, and it's always meant a ton to me because it's how I got into this whole, collecting old video games scene. So yeah, I'm really happy that it's so cool to think that the Dreamcast has been around for 25 years. I had made some videos in the past about, the Dreamcast or whatever, and I'd made a 15th anniversary video. That's how long ago I made a video about it, just the Dreamcast itself. And I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts and memories of the Dreamcast. It's kind of a weird situation because I'm a later adopter, in a sense, to the Dreamcast than a lot of people who are my contemporaries who may have got it on $9.99, here in North America. Let's go right into it. In 1999, I would have been a freshman in high school. I did not know anybody who got the Dreamcast on launch, but I did know a guy who got the Dreamcast after it was heavily discounted or whatever, and that's my best friend Drew. He's been my best friend since the 7th grade. I mean, he was the best man at my wedding, and yeah, he had one of those Dreamcasts his mom had bought for him, and I remember him telling me about how it was pretty cool that you could play video games online and stuff like that. It was wild, it was absolutely a wild deal there, and yeah. So I didn't know too many people who had a Dreamcast. Yeah, Drew was the only person I knew who ever had one. YouTube back in like 2009, and there was a lot of retro gaming stuff, the Angry Video Game Nerd especially, and there was of course Pat the NES Punk with his flea market madness back in the day. So you know what? I was like, hey, I want to go out to the flea markets and see what's up. Maybe there's something cool. Maybe there's some old NES games or Nintendos and stuff like that, and didn't find much. It was kind of a bust, except the only thing that was a consolation was this, a console, the Dreamcast. I was like, oh yeah, I remember my buddy Drew had one of those back in the day. I'm gonna grab one, heck yeah, 25 bucks, that sounds like a great price in 2012. 2012? That doesn't even make sense. 2012, I'm sorry. Yeah, and it is one of those that the copyright date is 1999. I believe the ones that are a little bit later, they had made some revisions, so it was harder to, I don't know, like play burned discs or something, but that's what I heard. I don't know if that's the case. I'm sure they've made workarounds around that since then, but yeah, so I got one of these Dreamcasts, and I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, the thing is, the Dreamcast is very loud. The thing sounds like a plane on the flight line, if you were, I was in the Air Force, so that's the first thing that comes to mind. And of course, it was one of the first game consoles to use Windows, actually. As you can see, it uses Windows CE. And, it uses GD-ROMs or whatever instead of CD-ROMs or DVDs, which is kind of what a lot of people say killed the Dreamcast, is the fact that it didn't play DVDs. But you know what? Neither did the GameCube, which also did terribly now that I think about it. But the Xbox wasn't a huge seller the way the PlayStation 2 was. The PlayStation 2, is one of the greatest selling consoles of all time. I mean, I think the Switch is going to pass it, but at the time, it was the greatest selling console of all time, and it was actually the least powerful. The Dreamcast is actually more powerful. But the thing is, of course, the Dreamcast did not last long. It came out in 1999, was discontinued in 2001. Though video games were still being made up till I think 2007 in Japan, and it was still supported. It was actually still supported, which is incredible, honestly. And there's, of course, a homebrew community surrounding the Dreamcast. There's people who still make games for the Dreamcast for their homebrew games. One that I can think of off the top of my head is the creator of Flea, Alistair Lowe of Low Tech Games, actually. He made the game Flea, which is actually an NES game, and he actually made a port for the Dreamcast, so you can actually buy physical versions of that. The reason I know about this game so much is, of course, it was on Evercade. Yeah, but there's a lot of cool games on the Dreamcast, and games are still being put on the Dreamcast to this day. So, anyways, I want to go over the games I do have on Dreamcast. It's a very small library. I think I got like 6 games here or so, but I used to have more, but I've since, dwindled my collection down. I've pared down the collection. I'm still doing that with a lot of systems. I've been selling more stuff lately, getting rid of stuff that I just don't need. It just doesn't have any, meaning to me. It's all about focusing, getting rid of filler and having a little more killer in my collection. So But anyways, let's talk about my Dreamcast games. Here we go. First up, this is not a game, it's a demo disc actually. Yeah, it's the Generator Playable Bits and Video Clips. This is pretty cool actually. It's got like demos for like Sonic Adventure, Power Stone. I think there's a House of the Dead game on here. Crazy Taxi, I want to say. I do have Crazy Taxi on PS2, but I do not own it on Dreamcast anymore for whatever reason. Up next, you would think this would appeal to retro gamers, and that is the Sega Smash Pack. It's got a pretty nice selection, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog, Golden Axe, Shining Force, Streets of Rage 2, Columns, Virtua Cop 2, Revenge of Shinobi, Altered Beast, Phantasy Star 2, Vector Man. I'd heard good things about Sega Swirl, but I haven't played that one. I mean, it's cool that this is a Sega compilation, you know, on the Dreamcast of these classic games from various systems. But let me just say one thing. I'm a big fan of Shining Force, and the emulation on Shining Force is totally awful on here. I think this is the worst way to play Shining Force. Yeah, it's one of those, you know, it's very affordable. It says not for resale in the back here. I wonder if this was included in some games. I don't know, or maybe this was available through some other way. I mean, if you know the answer, you know, hit me up in the comments and let me know why this says not for resale. I don't think this is super rare or anything that I know of, so. Up next, we got what's basically the Sonic the Hedgehog of, you know, the Dreamcast. Of course, Sonic Adventure. Yes. This game is something else, you know. It was Sonic really into the third dimension or whatever. I replayed it recently. I actually played it for a little bit and just kind of tested it out, see how it plays. And man, wow, this was kind of ahead of its time, really, you know. And I mean, it's an interesting thing, you know, to have to put Sonic into a 3D world. And man, the graphics on here actually, I think, have aged really well. This particular game was the very first game I ever actually recorded game footage of. I was using a Dazzle capture card in Pinnacle Studio back in the day. You know, that's how long ago it was. When first time I ever used a capture card, I recorded footage of this game. I don't know where that footage is anymore. It might be on an old hard drive somewhere. Who knows? But yeah, Sonic Adventure. I mean, you have to have this if you have a Dreamcast. This is like the Dreamcast, you know, this is the first game anybody who buys a Dreamcast should own, right here. Up next, we got a game I sort of got on a whim. I think I got it on eStarlin.com, and it just looked cool. I got it because the cover looked cool, and that's Sword of Berserk Guts Rage. I've played maybe a few minutes of this game. I never got too far, really. It's a hack and slash kind of game. Yeah, and it's based on this really popular anime. I have not played it very much. I wish I could say I've played more of it, but the graphics are absolutely gorgeous on this game. I can't say enough about it. It's a beautiful game. Up next, guys, I did a review of this game at the very beginning of my channel, and that is Confidential Mission. Oh man, that review I did was so freaking cringy. I'm not gonna lie, it was terribly cringy. This is a cool game. It's a shooter game, basically, and it doesn't say on the back that it's compatible with the Pelican light gun, but it is. It's compatible with the Dreamcast Pelican light gun. And yeah, I did a review of it. I was trying to be like James Bond or something. It was kind of weird. The voice acting's a little weird. This game is actually 2 players, and yeah, I need to revisit this sometime. Absolutely, for sure. I just love the style. The style of the front cover is incredible. And yeah, kind of reminded me of playing shooter games with like Area 51 on the PlayStation back in the day. It had that vibe, you know. It's kind of on the rails here, and I don't feel like it gets talked about nearly enough as far as Dreamcast games go. Up next, Jet Grind Radio. Or is it Jet Set Radio? No, it's Jet Grind Radio. I don't know why it's called Jet Grind Radio some places and Jet Set Radio in other regions. In fact, the sequel, I believe, is Jet Set Radio Future, and that's on the original Xbox, and it comes, you know, I think that actually came bundled with Forza 2, if I'm not mistaken. I think I have that one. Jet Set Radio, yeah, this is one of those games. I keep trying to play it. Every time I've tried to play it, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting very frustrated here, you know. It's a game where you basically, you know, you're on roller skates and you graffiti stuff, and you look for, like, the cans and stuff, and these guys, like, do they chase you or something? I have struggled to get through the tutorial of this. My buddy John Kratz, he really vibes with this game, if I'm not mistaken. I think him and I have talked about it once or twice, and it does look up his alley, you know, absolutely. Yeah, Jet Grind Radio, yeah, absolutely got it. This is one you have to keep in the collection. I do have it digitally on PS3 as well as Sonic Adventure for that matter, but I don't know, there's just something about having it and be able to hold this particular game. Up next, this is not an actual Dreamcast game. It's a disc that lets you play a PS1 game. It's a Bleemcast disc, and it lets you play Metal Gear Solid, the original Metal Gear Solid 1, and it actually makes the game look a little bit prettier. Oh, I have that upside down. It actually makes that look a little bit prettier. Yeah. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. But the final game in this collection of mine, it's just one of those games you just, if you're going to play the Dreamcast, you know, and play something that's just truly authentic and an experience of the time, you have to check out the original Shenmue. Yeah, I know Shenmue is on PS4 and Xbox One, and you know, and of course that version's a little bit different because a lot of the things that were licensed were taken out. For example, I think he had like a Casio watch or whatever, and it just says like Sega on the watch now. It's little things like that, if I'm not mistaken. But man, the original Shenmue is something else. This is a game. There's cool little discs here. There's like a Shenmue passport, which gives you like a little background on the characters and stuff like that. This is a game, I thought, this was one of the very first games I bought for the Dreamcast because I've been looking at games, you know, what are the games to get on the Dreamcast? And this was the perfect game. It was the right game at the right time for me because, you know, I longed for games like True Crime Streets of LA, you know, the fighting aspect of it, but it's a little Grand Theft Auto-y. This is before Grand Theft Auto 3, you know what I mean? And I'd also been playing LA Noire, which is a detective game, and you're walking around and investigating stuff. That's what this game is in a lot of ways. It's sort of a detective game, but it's a life simulator. You walk around a small town in Japan. And I'd been stationed in Japan for 2 years, and I kind of had, you know, sour feelings about Japan at the time. I was a little bitter about some things that went down, and this game reminds me so much of where I was stationed in Japan because I actually lived off base. I actually lived in a small house in Japan, and it was an absolutely beautiful area, you know, and I remember walking around the downtown area in the evenings especially, you know, just, going out to the local watering holes with my buddies, you know, and sometimes we'd discover a different bar here and there we had never been to, you know, some kind of sleepy little bar, you know, that maybe was kind of undiscovered by a lot, and it reminded me so much of that. Walking around here in this game reminded me so much of the experience of walking around a small town in Japan. And it kind of like, I don't want to say anything as cliche as it was healing or something like that, but it reminded me of, there were some really good times that I should cherish. And actually, this wasn't as bad of an experience as maybe I had originally thought back in my head. So yeah, this game just hits in such a way, you know, and I love the terrible voice acting, you know, or I'm looking for sailors, you know. Oh man, all the fun little mini games, you know, there's just so much to do, and there's a limited amount of time to play this game. You know, you have to finish this game in a certain amount of days throughout the game, which gives you a little bit of, you know, franticness, I guess, to an extent. It's like, okay, I actually have to finish this, and I did. I actually finished this game back in 2015. It took me a while. I left the game for a while, you know, because I got it in 2012, and then I finally came back to it, and I finished it. It is a game I actually finished, and I'm so happy that I did. The ending, you know, leaves on such a cliffhanger, you know. I started Shenmue 2 on original Xbox, because I do have it on original Xbox, but I never got very far, and I do, of course, have the Shenmue collection 1 and 2 on PS4, as well as Shenmue 3. I mean, I was hyped for Shenmue 3, and I still have not played it because I have not finished Shenmue 2. So I do want to finish Shenmue 2, and eventually I will get to Shenmue 3, but yeah, this game, I could, man, it's just really something else. It was a game there's just really nothing like it. I loved the combat aspect of it. I just love the whole, you know, you never know what people are going to say, and they say different things at different times of the day. And yeah, it just feels like a mystery game, like a detective game of sorts. And, you know, just figuring out, you know, like, how do we get out of here, you know? And then the forklift driving was friggin' hilarious. Can't say enough about the forklift driving, but yeah, Shenmue. This is the game. If I could recommend one single game you ever play on Dreamcast, it's got to be Shenmue, without a doubt. So, yeah, the Sega Dreamcast, it's a special console to me. And it's so special to me because it helped me start my retro gaming journey. And, of course, of how the way Shenmue as a game made me feel. So, anyways, those are all my Dreamcast thoughts and memories here. Hope you guys like the scenery, me filming my video outside. You know, it's a little off the cuff. The cicadas are going full blast, of course, right now. But anyways, what are your guys' thoughts? You know, what are your Dreamcast memories? Did you ever play the Sega Dreamcast? Comment below. Love to hear what you had to say. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay awesome in this universe. Thanks. Bye. Yes, I'm recording a video out here. What? I can't. I'm like in the middle of recording right now. Can you give me like 5 minutes? I'm like almost done. I'm just going over my memories. You know those things called memories for the 25th anniversary of Dreamcast. Should I keep this in the video? I should probably keep it in the video, huh? She's saying no, but I'm keeping it in the video. I'm so keeping it in the video. It's staying in the video. I'm sorry, it just has to, you know. You gotta experience real life, you know what I mean? Anyways, I'm gonna continue on with this. I should be done really soon.